Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. We're here with Lyndi Perry, who is the STEM coordinator, and Liz Vowles, who is the Artisan and Programs Manager for Craft Lake City. How are y'all?
Very good. Thank you.
Super. Thanks for having us.
This is version 5, I think, of our little partnership.
Oh, yeah. We've done this for a while.
Long time.
That's exciting.
And we usually record this in the spring, and the big event is, tell us about it.
August, the second weekend in August every year. So this year that lines up with August 11th through 13th. We're getting on the podcast now because we still want people to apply to be part of the festival. So that deadline is coming up soon. So if you want to be an exhibitor in our STEM building, get in touch with me now.
There you go. And the best way?
Lyndi at craftlakecity.com.
Lyndi.
That's right.
Perfect. We glossed over like how awesome it is. So now let's
awesome.
double click on that.
Yeah. So we communicated the urgency.
Yes.
Now let's communicate the awesomeness.
Yes. I take my kids every year, and you walk in to the fairgrounds, I assume, this year as well.
Yep.
And me, I'm like, well, should I be selfish and go do the things I want to do or go do the stuff that they might enjoy? But you can go in any direction, figuratively and literally. So what's it going to look like this year?
Well, we're very, very excited about some of the updates with our programming. So Kid Row is always an awesome thing where our kid entrepreneurs up to the age of 18 can make a product, do all the things that the adults do to get signed up, submit photos of their product and sell it, and be an entrepreneur. We love entrepreneurship of all flavors. So that's also a connection to my STEM building where it's also all ages friendly. And we're just really looking for entrepreneurs in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math to be part of this Google Fiber STEM building experience. Do you have other things that are your favorite highlights of the festival, Liz?
Oh my gosh. Well, Kid Row is definitely up there. We have an incredible lineup of local artisans exhibiting all 3 days of the DIY Fest too. This year we're slated to have over 330 different local vendors with all sorts of wonderful handmade products. So that's part of the reason why this is a 3-day event. There's just so much to see between all of those artisans. We'll have over 50 performers, also, again, local from Utah. We'll have dozens of food vendors available with the lineup changing across the different days. So really just so much to enjoy and take in.
Yeah. My kids, they kind of call it like a fair, right?
Right.
Because it has that feel. Music, food, it smells awesome.
Yeah.
And then you
So
walk
much
10
good
feet
food.
and it smells different.
Yeah.
And, the worst part is they're like, can you buy me that? Can you buy me that? Can you buy me that? It's like, no, go negotiate yourself. Because some of the kids are like cutthroat, right? They're like, I know how much that costs to make. And then they're like, well, I've got margins. I'm like, I know what a margin is. But it is fun,
That's
right?
adorable. Yeah.
Because some of them, most of them, in fact, at least while I was there, they're doing the talking on their own, right? They're not getting like feedback from adults. Like they're
Right.
handling the whole thing, point of
Right.
sale.
Mhm.
Obviously, they can explain the product as well as anyone because they did it. And it's unfair, right? Because you're like, ugh, okay,
Yeah.
I better buy that.
Right.
So
And you don't want to
some of
talk
them
them
make good
down. That
money.
just feels mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
thing we're working really hard on right now is expanding Kid Row's presence at the DIY Festival. We've been doing this since 2017, so it's been a number of years now. But like Lyndi was saying, this year we are bringing in kids up to age 18. So 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. This is the first chance that we're offering to have them exhibit and sell their wares at the DIY Festival, which is really, really cool. Last year was our biggest Kid Row to date at over 50 participants, and we're looking to make that even bigger this year. So if you or anyone you know has a young creative maker or young entrepreneur in the family, encourage them to apply for the DIY Fest.
Yeah. What were some of the things you bought last year?
I didn't have time. Well, okay. So my kids love places. I have a daughter that's basically a geographer. And so there's a place that makes posters with the backdrops and the place names, like Ireland. I can't remember the name of the vendor, but she bought like 3 posters of like Ireland and the Patagonia, things like that. It was gorgeous. So
Yeah.
that's what we had time for.
Yeah.
My job is to run around the STEM building, managing all the awesome demonstrations that we have going on. So I'm going to talk about a few of my highlights, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Last year, we started including what we call primitive technology in STEM. So we had a blacksmith bring a forge and do a demonstration so that you could see how the metal wares are made. We had the Biomedical Engineer Club from University of Utah come and take people's heartbeats and show you how you can visualize on a screen medical things that are happening inside your body. And that was so popular. We had the Salt Lake Amateur Radio Club come and broadcast. This year they're coming back. They're getting ready to like broadcast live on their shortwave radios so that the whole country can hear about DIY Fest as it happens. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Just so many fun moments that I get to be part of. We got the Scale Model Car Club that just builds little tiny scale model cars, and they had like a whole show where people could vote for their favorite car in the lineup. And then really big institutions that we partnered with, like University of Utah, they brought their Behavioral Health and Innovation Center to talk about mental health and awareness. So it's just an awesome, like little bit of everything STEM fair. And if you're looking for a place to go first, Garrett, when you get to the STEM festival or when you get to DIY Fest, I recommend STEM just because, you know, kids will love it, you'll love it, and you won't have to spend too much money.
Yeah.
Did your kids do the rocket launches last year at the DIY Fest?
Did not, but I remember seeing those. I did talk a lot with the blacksmith.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I love showing myself and then the kids are like, you think this all just happens miraculously, but it builds generation after generation.
Right, yeah.
And this is pretty good technology still, but at the time it was like mesmerizing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And then the kids can know that they do not want to put on events, right? That can be the one entrepreneurial journey of like, this is fun to be in, but probably not very fun to plan.
Yeah.
Because whenever I see you, it's always, hey, how are you? See you later.
Have
Bye.
fun. Tell me if you see any spills. I'll get on it.
Yeah. But yeah, the hands-on stuff's fantastic. This might have been the Amateur Radio Club, but they were doing Morse code. And
that was them.
Yeah, my little 6-year-old was tapping on that, and then afterward, for me, it's like the car ride home, the engaging questions, right? And you can explain like that's how they used to tell people what's going on,
right?
And it was actually pretty fast. Like, you could gossip pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now we just text.
Yep. But it served its purpose.
Right.
Liz, this is your first time on the show.
Yeah.
And what is the Artisan and Programs Manager role?
So I oversee a pretty wide breadth of programming through Craft Lake City. We host over 50 hands-on workshops throughout the year. These are artisan taught. So I book those throughout a number of venues throughout the general Salt Lake area, which is really cool. So beginner-friendly classes that are accessibly priced for the Utah public. We also do a variety of curation projects all year round. If either of you has ever been along Broadway, so 300 South in downtown Salt Lake City, we have a series of 14 steel frames at pedestrian height. They're 4 foot by 8 foot, so they're pretty large, and we program seasonal art exhibitions in those. Yeah. So that's a really cool facet of my job. Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Nice.
They're cool.
Right now we're doing a really fun STEM crossover featuring the magic of pollination. So you should check it out.
Beautiful and informative.
Yeah, that was the goal. But yeah, a lot of what I do is just coordinate the artists and the food vendors for our 2 major events. So the DIY Fest, which we've been talking about, and then our holiday market, which is the first weekend of December in Ogden.
Yeah. Which is also way cool.
Yeah. One piece of my job that's been really exciting to build out this year is our Youth Artisan Entrepreneur Program, which actually ties directly into Kid Row at the DIY Fest, which we've been talking about. But what we started doing was bringing in real working artists to Title I schools and low-income after-school programs around Salt Lake and introducing kids to people who have made art their lifelong passion or their hobby or their career, even their education path, providing these students with a variety of crafting materials so that they can work on an inventory and prepare to exhibit at Kid Row at the DIY Festival. And so the goal here is to just make art accessible to those who happen to go to schools that don't have a visual arts budget, or who maybe aren't getting that kind of curriculum in their normal everyday life, and teaching them these principles of entrepreneurship as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother is a retired art teacher, and she was perpetually griping about the lack of funding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just bad luck if that's what you'd like to pursue and there's not a strong presence in your school for that. But it sounds like you guys have a little solution.
Yeah, I mean, funding can always be a pain point, but, you know, we work hard to secure grant money, and, you know, through private donation, we're able to bring these hands-on educational experiences to kids who really need it and can benefit from it.
Yeah. And a lot's changed with art over the years, because it used to be just like, I like my artist starving, right? And if you're on the other side of the table, you still like that. But they've never had more power, right? Whether it's NFTs or, you know, all of this stuff, they can at least see a monetary path to happiness doing what they want.
Yeah.
You don't have to like wait tables. They can probably make it on their own through art.
So that is an awesome segue, because I was hoping I could read you my dream list of exhibitors that we might be able to reach through the Silicon Slopes audience. We would love to have NFTs represented. We don't have anyone who can show off what NFTs are or talk to our public audience about it. We would love to get an exhibitor who could just even do a demonstration about their, you know, product or software, whatever they're promoting through it, and just show our audience and answer questions about it, because there's so many questions. And we work with so many artists and artisans who would probably be really interested in the digital authorship part of NFTs. So it would be a great place to come and talk to people about NFTs.
Yeah.
Also on my dream list, virtual reality always, games and apps. Our audience loves hands-on anything, and they love learning through games. I think educational gaming is so fun. And then sustainability, technology, and biotech. We're always looking for people who can represent that, because Utah has such a strong presence nationally with some of those things, but we don't have people at DIY Fest showing off that it's one of Utah's strengths. Yeah. So we'd love to find people like that.
Yeah.
To get them in to meet our audience.
Oh, it's perfect. It's great synergies. And the Credo was there last year, right?
Yes, Credo was so fun. And that was absolutely perfect, because they got to show off their plants and talk about like data, using data to understand what your plant is doing. That's so cool. And having like their little network that talks to each other. That's what an awesome use of data.
Yeah. Yep. And it'll keep the plants alive.
Exactly.
Which is all I care about.
Very helpful in that way too.
They can have fun.
I'm like, let's talk about behind the scenes, and they're talking about like, oh, let's keep plants alive. Yeah. Both are good.
Exactly. Yeah, every time I talk to them, it's like, when are you going to get outside of the house and build it for like the garden? Because I'm sick of like,
that'd be cool.
Some of my tomatoes doing awesome, some not. They'll get there.
You know, we have another solution for that. John Webster at Go Biochar. If you add his biochar to your garden, he's exhibited with us before, and I did it. I added the biochar to my garden, and the tomatoes, so happy. So happy.
See, this is the great thing, right?
Right.
I like showing up to these awesome festivals that others are putting on, not me, and with a blank slate and just seeing what happens.
Exactly.
And you always leave just like, oh boy, things are in pretty good hands, right? Like, there's all these smart kids. They just took me to the cleaners. The artists seem happy. Yeah. So it's like positive energy for sure.
Oh yeah. Great vibes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you've got kids all the way up to 18, whether they lack confidence or they've got too much confidence, it's like good, right? They'll be humbled a little bit, or they'll kind of get a little bit more confident. And from my experience, it was a huge smorgasbord, right? It doesn't feel like you're restricting anything or anyone. All the ideas were awesome. You put your VC hat on and you're like, that's scalable. That's a hobby, but they're going to have to hear it at some point, right?
Right.
And you can sit there and like theorize, or you can actually go do it.
Right.
And you'll know, right?
Right. Yeah, that real world experience, it's so valuable for all ages.
Yeah.
Just to have an audience to gauge how it's going.
Yeah. And across so many topics too. I mean, how to make sales, how to handle payment processing, how to merchandise your booth and display your wares the best that they can be, right? And even one of my favorite parts of Kid Row at the DIY Fest is watching kids barter amongst each other. You know, wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
All really
That's
useful
cute.
life skills.
It never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
They might as well learn it.
Yeah.
And the younger kids, some of them are pretty darn impressive, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're like, where did you come from?
Well, you got to be a little ambitious to put
Way
on
ambitious.
something like that. So yeah, you get the self-selectors at that age where they just like, I'm ambitious. I need an outlet for this. And their parents are probably helpful, you know?
Yeah.
Making those dreams come true.
And I got the impression that several of them are going to be able to pay for, if they want, to go to college.
Cool.
Or for sure, it'll be like, I use this money to seed my next one.
Yeah.
Because some of them are doing pretty good,
Yeah.
right? And like, let alone the fact that they're learning. Like, all right. Because I guarantee some of them are like, I screwed up. I should have been charging more, right? Or I was like, why didn't I sell as much as my buddy? It's like, oh, I was double the price, right?
Yeah.
Whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, like this is stuff that's insanely valuable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good. So what else? What else should we talk about that people can get involved? Do you need volunteers? Do you need anything
that's a
from the
great
community?
idea. Yeah, our volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers. It takes so much support to put on a festival this big. And we have, I mean, it's fun too. Like,
So fun.
our volunteers get to eat at the food trucks on their break and do a little like shopping while they're walking around, keeping an eye on stuff. It's just good times for everybody.
Yeah. I ate several pieces of corn on the cob and I had to stop. Otherwise, I could have just sat there all day and
Yeah.
listen to the music and eating corn,
Yeah.
but that's not a good look at some point. What else about the part that I was kind of interested in was like the blacksmith last year.
Right.
So is there going to be anything this year that kind of ties centuries or decades together?
So we kind of did it on accident last year, but maybe we can bring it out more this year. So we had an outdoor education booth he just takes people out into the wilderness and they do primitive survival tech. And so he was teaching people how to start fires with sticks, right? And then right next door to that was the blacksmith who's like taking advantage of the properties of fire to create with. And then across the way from that was Pyro Putty, who has this like little flammable starter. It's like they've got their own little startup business. And it's just like this putty that you can use to start fires. So you like light it and then put it on or underneath the wood and it takes up really fast. And so you can get a fire started in any condition with this product. So I loved that it was like accidentally showing the development of technology through the centuries. And also that it was like Fire Alley. It was just like one fire after another in that little corner. It was really fun.
And I loved how in this sort of STEM area of the DIY festival, there are exhibitors who bridge STEM and art.
Yeah.
Like the lightning guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Sergio is our lightning guy. He uses it really is lightning. He uses a Van de Graaff machine to create, like, he hooks it up to these little pieces of wood, and instead of like wood burning where you like pour the fluid in and light it, he uses this electricity to burn it. So it actually has the pattern of electricity running through the wood when you're done. So he does demonstrations at the same time that he's like selling his artisan product. So it turns out beautifully, and he can like customize it with, names and things like that with his lathe machine. But then like the little lightning pattern is so organic and based on these scientific principles. It's so cool to see the two things come together.
I love it. I love what you guys have built because you never know what's going to be there.
Yeah.
There's like the stuff that's there every year and then all the new additions. And, if you've got kids or not, and they're like, because this is right in the dog days of summer, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, I've been swimming, I've been to the lagoon.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? Well, you haven't seen this. Let's go.
Not yet. Yeah.
And
Come to DIY
inevitably,
Fest.
The good thing is like once you're in the parking lot, there's not like a bunch of crying kids, which I think is a good sign that they had fun. They had fun.
Yep. And
Which
just
can't
the
be
right
same.
amount of stimulated, not overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if they get overstimulated, you just go eat
Yeah.
and listen to music, and It's fantastic. Okay, so DIY Fest put on by Craft Lake City, August 11th through the 13th. Kids Row applications are open for a limited time. Better move quick.
And all of our STEM applications will be coming in too. So Lyndi at craftlakecity.com. Businesses of all sizes are welcome. Of course, we've got the entrepreneurship focus for all ages, like the Kid Row, the artisans, and our STEM. Hopefully, our Utah businesses and will come and represent STEM with us too.
Perfect. All right, Lyndi and Liz, thank you so much for taking the time to join. It's one of my favorite things to do each year, and it's good that we can continue this partnership. Thank you guys for everything you do for us and the community.
Likewise, and we just love your community as well. You've developed such an engaged entrepreneurship, like so much synergy there. I just love it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.